Welcome to the Fantasy Football Fanatics podcast with your hosts Griffin Palmer, CJ Hickman, Jason Cabrera, and Ryan Mitchell.
What is up, everybody? Welcome to the show. It is Friday, May 11th. Welcome to the Fantasy Football Fanatics podcast, the official podcast of thefantasyfootballfanatics.com. I'm your host, Griffin Palmer, joined by CJ the Hitman Hickman. What's up, CJ?
Hey, man.
Hey, man. Welcome back.
Doing?
And let's not forget Jason Cabrera. What's up, Jason?
What's going on, man?
Not much. So, gang's all back together. You know, this is happening not as frequently as we'd like it, but we're all here. Forget about that Ryan guy that you hear about in the intro. He's not
a thing. Or the girl.
Yeah.
Let's forget about both of that.
He offers analytics now, but he's not he if you go back way into the archives, back into our first 50 episodes, you'll notice that there's a very bald, as CJ likes to say, Lex Luthor looking guy that was one of the co-hosts, if you're not familiar. That would be Ryan. So he helps out with analytics now. He does some stuff, but he's not hosting currently. Life happens. We understand. But anyway, so if you ever were wondering who's that fourth guy that you never hear from, maybe you will one day, but that's the story behind it. But today we have an amazing show for you guys. We are going to be talking part 2 of our winners and losers post the NFL draft. If you go back and you listen to Tuesday's show, you'll hear all of our AFC breakdown. Again, these are quick hits. We're focusing on mostly the rookies and players who are affected by the rookies or players who are not affected by rookies, a.k.a. maybe a running back who the team didn't draft a running back, things like that. So we're kind of looking at the whole team, and this is all based on the impact of the rookie draft picks. If you guys enjoy what you're listening to, please make sure you guys subscribe wherever you're listening. We are a year-round podcast. We're here twice a week, every single week. You can submit your questions and interact with us very easily on multiple social media platforms, including on Twitter at the FF Fanatics. If you want to support the show and help us keep doing what we're doing and keep these lights on, this audio recording equipment running, head over to patreon.com/thefantasyfootballfanatics to get yourself bonus perks, including bonus episodes. And beyond that, if you just really want to just help, but you don't know how, and you don't want to go over to Patreon, give us a rating and a review wherever you're listening right now. It really helps the show out a ton. But with that, I guess let's get into it. I forgot to add that warm-up question. Crap. All right, we'll do it on Tuesday. But we are going to be talking about
heard that before.
I know, right? You're supposed to remind me. We have one top headline that was...
Don't blame me. Don't blame me. Come on.
I will, because I put this whole doc together. You had one job. No, there's 2 bits of news. That's right. So for starters, a little bit of running back news, and if you follow us on Twitter again at the FF Fanatics, you would have already known this. But New Orleans Saints running back Mark Ingram has been suspended for 4 games for violating the league's performance-enhancing drug policy. They have not come out and said what the substance was, but this apparently goes back to the final drug test at the end of the 2017 season, so he probably knew about this for a while. Sounds like the team knew about it, and he did try to appeal, but it was immediately, smacked down. It was the quickest appeal I've ever seen. It was almost like, hey, I'm appealing this, and they said, no, you're not, and that was the end of it. So, he's going to be missing 4 games, and I believe the Saints have an early bye week, so I think there's let me bring up their schedule. But obviously, Mark Ingram, this gives a massive drop in his fantasy draft stock. My question to you guys, what are your thoughts on Alvin Kamara and the turnaround from this?
He's got to go up. I mean, those 4 games are big. I mean, especially depending on where their bye sits. I mean, he's going to get the truck of the volume. It was already between those 2 guys already is now. So, I mean, I think it already leans more in favor of Alvin Kamara. I still don't think that he's first round pick quality. I mean, but I still think that he's going to get the majority of the touches, especially now with the suspensions.
Jason?
Yeah. I actually put a note in that for later on in the main subject we're talking about, but I do think that Kamara is going to see a little bit more targets going his direction.
Yeah, I for me, I know a lot of people are rushing out there being like, I've seen some analysts, some that I truly respect, go out and say he's the number 1 running back in fantasy drafts, especially now, and I don't go that far. I don't believe that to be the case. But I will say that obviously you have to give him a nice boost here. I just don't think that he's going to inherit this massive workload that everybody kind of is thinking, that he's going to assume the role of both these running backs. So, I mean, he's never been a high-volume guy. He's always been an explosive guy. I think he capped out last season at 12 rushing attempts. So he's a guy they're going to want to get somewhere around 20 touches a game, and that's not all going to be running. I think that we'll see... maybe Jonathan Williams, or they just drafted Baston Scott, one of these other guys, maybe step in and be kind of a first, second down, change of pace. Like they'd share the workload kind of thing. But I do think you have to give Alvin Kamara a bump here because he's going to see more volume than he would have otherwise. But I don't think they're going to want to run him into the ground because obviously they're going to want to have him fresh for the whole season. So I will say in my rankings I've given him that bump, and I now kind of have him in that second tier of running backs as opposed to kind of where I had him in like a third tier. So definitely going up. I could see him going as a top 5 running back. Would you guys? I guess I'll put it to you this way: would you guys take him, or would you take what's a good example? I'm trying to think because obviously I think we'd all take Gurley and we would all take Le'Veon Bell, probably David Johnson all ahead of him. But someone a little bit further. Yeah, for me, I think he kind of falls into a category where maybe I think Ezekiel Elliott, depending on what they do offensively, might still make that top tier. I think he's kind of in tier of his own between the first and the second tier. And then, like, in this next tier, I kind of have, like, Kareem Hunt and Alvin Kamara and, guys like that. So would you take him – where would you take him in that group of guys right now without actually adjusting your rankings?
I think I would take him over
Melvin Gordon.
I got him tied over we got him tied with Kareem Hunt. I would take him over Melvin Gordon. Definitely take him over LaShawn McCoy,
Leonard Fournette, all those guys.
Yeah, Leonard Fournette, all those guys like that. Yeah.
Jason?
I don't know if I would do that because he may be the main guy for 4 games, but that's only 4 games. And then when Ingram comes back, it's a good possibility that he'll be there. Plus, you're talking about a guy that if he does start and gets the bulk of the carries and gets an upgrade like a lot of people think he's going to get, he could very easily be hurt, very easily be injured. He's not a big guy, so that would concern me a little bit. I'm not sure I would take him over those guys.
Yeah, I agree.
Point.
I agree with all that. My thing is, again, I think he will get an uptake, but he's not going to get the full workload. So I'm thinking he might get an extra like 3 or 4 carries a game. I don't think his passing production is going to change much. So if I stat that out over a season, I put him right there in that tier. I might take him for upside above guys like Kareem Hunt, but Kareem Hunt's going to have the full season. Melvin Gordon, he's in that grouping for me. So we'll see. Also, the New York Giants waived running back Paul Perkins, so I would say that's not too surprising. He drastically plummeted in the depth charts last season when he was given every opportunity to succeed. I mean, obviously it wasn't a great offensive line, but still, he was the starter, and he lost out to Orleans Darkwa, and now Saquon Barkley being there. Not much of a surprise. Anything you guys want to add, or you just want to move on?
Move on. Let's get started.
All right, well, let's get right into it. Today, we're going to be talking, like we said, the biggest winners and losers post the NFL draft. And we are talking, I had AFC up here again. I can't type. The NFC. So we're going to start with the NFC North, and we're going to start with the Chicago Bears. So we're going to do 3 minutes on the clock. At the end, you'll remember, movie magic here. You're going to hear this sound. And then we'll move on. So I'm going to start the timer. I'm going to – shut up, Jason. And I'm going to throw this to you first, Jason. So, Jason, 3 minutes on the clock. We all have to talk here. Ready? And tell me about the Bears.
Winners. Mitchell Trubisky is a winner. This offseason, the Bears have added a bunch of receiver talent around him, to include Anthony Miller in the second round. They also updated their offensive line. They got James Daniels, who's pretty good offensive lineman. And I thought it was possibly a first-round talent. Jordan Howard's got to be a winner here. They upgraded the offensive line. They upgraded tight end. They upgraded wide receiver. That means that he's not going to have to carry the load. They can't load the box against him. That's a very nice thing for him to do. And then losers, I got the wide receiver room just because now it's a little bit more muddled than it was. There's more talent in that room. So the question now is where are those targets going to go? And with Miller coming in, that's even more mouths to feed. So that's my take on it.
Yeah, by far and away, I have Mitchell Trubisky being a huge winner here. They got him yet another pass-catching, big wide receiver. They got him offensive line help. They drafted some defensive pieces, including a first-round linebacker and Roquan Smith, who will definitely help. He could probably be a running back. And Jordan Howard probably benefits as well from some upgrades on the offensive line. But for me, Mitchell Trubisky is just by far and away just a huge winner here. So, definitely a guy worth taking a look at and taking a stab at probably early for in 2 quarterback leagues. And if you're looking at him as your starter, I'd probably start him off as a streaming guy, even though he has all these weapons. It's just, it's a lot to see come together. It's a lot of pieces that are new in Chicago. CJ, anything you want to add?
Yeah, I like the head coach coming in there. I think he's a definitely winner. Pairing him with Nagy, pairing with Trubisky, Tariq Cohen, a guy that probably gets forgotten about. He had a couple good weeks, and then started to taper off towards the end because there's just not enough firepower there. But I kind of disagree with Jason as far as the wide receiver room. I mean, this wide receivers class last year was absolutely horrendous. But now you're bringing in Allen Robinson, you're bringing in Tyler Gabriel, you're trying to revitalize freaking Kevin White and see what he can be able to do, and then you're bringing my boy in Trey Burton. So I like all of these pieces right here, all of these fresh new faces for this wide receiver room and with this offensive minded coach/coordinator. So I mean, this is a win-win for me as far as the Bears offense.
I agree, and let's move on. All right, resetting the clock. We're moving on to the Detroit Lions. CJ, we'll start with you on this one. Tell me your biggest winners and losers from Detroit.
Detroit, well, first of all, you're bringing in a defensive-minded coach. It's going to be to be able to manage that defense. They went out there, got some good pieces there. I like the additions they got going on. I like they're bringing some cohesiveness as far as the offensive coordinator with what's my man's name? I forgot his name.
Jim Bob Cooter.
Cooter, there it is, the Coots. The Coots there, man. You got my man Stafford. You got Galladay there, a young upstart wide receiver we saw last year. Hope to take a step forward. You got my man Marvin Jones. You got Golden Tate there. And now, you're bringing in LeGarrette Blount. Now, this is what I think about LeGarrette Blount. I like his physicalness and I like his toughness. One thing I loved about him with Philly, he brought that in there. He's not going to be an every game guy for you, but he can be able to make those plays. And I think he's going to be able to bring some juice to that running back room. And I really like that. So that was my winners.
Yeah, for me, the biggest loser by far and away is Amir Abdullah. The Amir Abdullah experiment seems to be basically over because they already had Theoretic there, and they're basically the same player. They, as you mentioned, brought in LeGarrette Blount, a goal line bruising north-south runner. Zach Zenner, a guy that we really like here on the show, but never seems to get an opportunity. But the second-round drafting of Kerryon Johnson, I mean, that's a massive addition for them, and maybe they'll actually be able to run the ball for the first time in a decade because they also spent draft capital on a number of linemen, a new center and a new left tackle. So probably helps Matthew Stafford. I have him down as probably a winner as well. They didn't really have that many pieces, though. They only had a handful of draft picks, but I think they really capitalized on what they had. And they drafted a fullback in the 7th round, which was interesting to me. So they might be going to a little bit more of a power run scheme, trying to overload the line a little bit. So it could help the running game out as well. So Kerryon Johnson, I think, lands in a very good situation for him to be productive in his rookie year. I think he will probably be the starting running back when it's all said and done. Jason, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, you guys covered most of it. Matthew Stafford's my big winner. They added the best center in the draft, arguably, so that's always good. They added a guard in Tyrell Crosby. And then, of course, like you said, they got some running back help, fullback. So that's all good. Amir Abdullah, big-time loser. You got Blount and Johnson there. That could be a really nice 1-2 punch. So, yeah, I pretty much agree with you guys.
All right, let's move on. Resetting the timer, we're moving to Green Bay, and I guess I'll take this since this is, CJ gives me crap about, this is my NFC team. So for me, the biggest winners here are probably Aaron Rodgers, for starters. They invested a lot of capital in, well, not necessarily capital, I shouldn't say that because they didn't. They signed a lot of undrafted rookies to upgrade their offensive line, so they're going to really try and piece together a really nice line to hopefully protect Aaron Rodgers better this year, trying to keep him upright, keep him healthy. That should help the running game. Ty Montgomery, I don't think is going to be a thing. This is definitely going to be a battle between Aaron Jones and Jamal Williams, depending on which side you lie on. We're all big Jamal Williams fans here on the show, but Aaron Jones, it's hard to deny the fact that he was getting snaps over Jamal Williams earlier in the season. We'll see how that shakes out, but both of them are winners as well because they didn't draft any other running backs, so that's good. But Aaron Rodgers also, they brought in a 4th, a 5th, and a 6th round wide receiver, so adding some depth behind Devontae Adams, Randall Cobb, and obviously signing of Jimmy Graham. So I really like Aaron Rodgers as a big winner here. He's already I would say if he's not your number one quarterback, you're probably crazy in fantasy. But yeah, they've done a lot to help shore that up. They also they grabbed a lot of defensive pieces, a lot of undrafted rookies there as well. So hopefully they take a step, because they also spent some draft capital on these defensive pieces, which will hopefully keep them in better scoring position, could help the whole offense. I like what the Packers did here. I think there's a lot of winners across the board more than there are any real losers. What are your thoughts, Jason?
Yeah, I got Jamal Williams as a big winner. No running backs taken. Have to worry about that. And the additions, as you mentioned, the defensive additions, especially those two corners, are going to vastly improve that defense, put them in better field positions, so he'll be able to capitalize on it, get some more touchdowns possibly. Aaron Rodgers, you mentioned, is a big winner for me as well. They took Jamon Moore and Equanimeous. That's a lot of fun to say. Equanimeous, St. Brown. They're both just massive, big old receivers. St. Brown is 6'5", and he runs a sub 4.5 40. So big, huge targets that they can use in the red zone. And we're talking about the quarterback that throws the most in the red zone in Aaron Rodgers. And plus he's got Jimmy Graham now, so that's a lot of firepower in the red zone. I do have some losers. I got Geronimo Allison and several other wide receivers because of the number of wide receivers taken and the size and that kind of thing. They're going to snipe a lot of those. I love that red zone work. And then, of course, Lance Kendricks has got to be a loser. Jimmy Graham's there. Forget it, Lance. Just forget it.
Yeah. CJ, 15 seconds. Winners, losers.
Defense. That is the winner for me. That is what I'm ending this segment on. This part of the game needed it drastically last year, and they definitely improved it in this draft. So I like it. They're my winners.
All right. Wow, you got it literally just under the wire. Well done, CJ. A true professional. With that, CJ, why don't you take it away with a team that I know you seem to like a lot, the Minnesota Vikings.
Minnesota Vikings, first of all, what they did, it went ahead and locked up one of their true stars on the defense, my man Eric Kendricks. Great on that part. They went out there and got their got their quarterback. I'm sorry, that they believed in and thought that is that final piece for this offense. Right now, it's a lot of mystery as far as what they're going to be able to do as far as fantasy, but everything on paper right now, if you match this offense up to what Kirk Cousins had a couple years ago with Deshaun Jackson, with Pierre Garçon, and Jordan Reed, if that season matched up to what they got going on for this season, projectedly on paper, this is going to be good. This is going to be good. So for me, this team good going on defense and on picking the draft, going on defense, and then bringing in Kirk Cousins. I think winners on both sides. It's hard to find a loser on this team.
Yeah, I think that the offense as a whole is a big winner here. Obviously, they upgraded at quarterback, bringing in Kirk Cousins. So you have to say all the pass catchers they get a bump here, because I like Kirk Cousins. Look, Sam Bradford I still think is the better, accurate passer. I mean, obviously the stats are there to back that up, but can't stay healthy. Kirk Cousins comes in. He's been on fire the last couple of years. May take him a while in a new place with all these new weapons get going, but I like that there. So as we've talked about up to this point, giving everyone a bump. They upgraded the offensive line, which will help, as well as help the running game with Dalvin Cook. Everybody's kind of forgetting about him coming back. Latavius Murray backing him up. So I like a lot of things that happen here. I don't really have too many losers. They got a lot of later round capital and defensive players. Of course, they drafted a corner in the first round as well, so that adds extra depth with Xavier Rhodes. The Vikings, I think that they're just kind of shoring up that position of being a playoff contender and a Super Bowl contender most likely. I think that they have had a very good offseason. Jason, anything to add?
Kirk Cousins got paid, got himself some O-linemen in the draft. That's nice. Kyle Rudolph I got as a winner. Kirk Cousins likes to feature his tight ends. I think he's going to find Rudolph more often, and we've seen how good he can be when he has a quarterback that does that.
All right. Well, with that, I guess we'll move on. So let's move on to the NFC East. And we'll start with CJ's favorite team, probably. Maybe one of the Dallas Cowboys. So, CJ, why don't you tell me what you like about the Cowboys this offseason, or dislike?
Boys.
Okay, first of all, this is what I like. All right, Cowboys, I will say, and I'll listen to a lot of football and fantasy football analysts, man. I will say I like, and I think it's a winner this year, is Dak Prescott. Why Prescott's going to be a winner? Because first and foremost, they released Dez Bryant. The big thing, one of the big concerns we had about this team is they keep trying to force the ball to Dez Bryant, and that's not Dak's game. Dak's game and why one of the things where he was so phenomenal his first year is, one, he had his phenomenal running back and back there, Ezekiel Elliott, and hopefully he stays out of trouble this year and you'll be able to bring that back. And then two, he was free flowing with the ball. He didn't force the ball to death. They didn't start doing that to him until later on, and it started to roll over into last season. So now look, they don't have the best wide receivers, but I think they have enough to keep Dak in his flow, and he can probably be in talks for MVP for next year.
See, I feel pretty heavily different. Des Bryant has not been the same player that he's been in years past. We can all agree on that. But that's a big presence that draws coverage no matter what. They never really got the same connection Tony Romo and Des got, but that's still somebody that distracts the defense and helps the running lanes. Now, I had Ezekiel Elliott down as a loser this offseason until the draft, where they did go in and they spent some draft capital, a second-round left guard, which will help things. They got a third-round wide receiver in Michael Gallup, which I think will most likely be a starter before the season's even probably begun. So maybe Dak does get going and he's able to build a good rapport with the guy. This will help Ezekiel Elliott run, which is why I still have him as one of those top 4 running backs, because you can make a case where it's not going to be great. The defense has some problems. The offense was kind of falling apart, but I think they had a pretty good draft here. I don't hate anything. I'll say Michael Gallup is a big winner for me just because of the situation he falls into, where he could probably most likely be the number 1 target there before the season's over if he's able to return on value. Jason, what are your thoughts?
I got to disagree with BJ. I think Dak Prescott's a loser in this situation. While he did get some O-line help and some new receivers, he lost 2 of his biggest weapons in Jason Witten and Des Bryant. Des Bryant, again, has not been as good as he's been in the past, but he still was that number 1 weapon. So that makes him a loser in my book. Ezekiel Elliott has a big winner. Connor Williams is going to help that O-line out, I think, and it's going to help Elliott get some more lanes. They also went out and got Van Der Esch and a couple of other really nice defensive pieces. That's going to put them in better field position. They're going to give Ezekiel Elliott an opportunity to get more touchdowns.
All right, and that's time. Let's reset, and we will go to the New York Giants. So, Jason, tell me about the Giants.
Eli Manning, big winner for me. They grabbed Will Hernandez, very underrated in my opinion. He should have gone higher. Just a mauler of a guard. I love this guy. One of my favorite people in the draft. They did go out and get a quarterback, but it was a later quarterback. He's a project. He's not going to challenge this year. And I think the wide receivers are all winners. There were wide receivers taken, so don't have to worry about that. Losers, Paul Perkins, as we mentioned, did get waived. And then you got Jonathan Stewart, because guess what? Barkley's probably going to be the man now.
Yeah, obviously that's a massive addition. Saquon Barkley being there helps the entire offense. You could argue that everyone on the offensive side is a winner, because he's going to draw coverage. He's going to pull up defenders, which will help the passing game. Sterling Shepard, Brandon Marshall, he's gone. Odell Beckham Jr., Evan Ingram, all these guys I think are going to do well. So, plus bringing in offensive line help with Will Hernandez, a guy that we both liked. We talked about him. He stood out at the Combine. Very explosive and very fast zone blocker. I think he will really help the running game. Him and Saquon Barkley are going to be good friends. I think that you could argue there's a lot of winners here, even though they had very limited draft picks. They grabbed some defensive help as well to help shore up some problems on the defensive line. I don't think I really have any losers here. CJ, what are your thoughts?
I think the big winner here is not only just the offense, is really the defense. The defense will be able to go back into playing like they used to play a couple of years ago, where they were top defenders now, but because this offense can be able to stay on the field and put some points up now. So I think that's one of the big winners here, and very underrated too. I
agree. Maybe you could say Jonathan Stewart's a loser. That contract.
I don't think anybody was putting him as a winner when he first even signed that contract.
No, you didn't like him as having the opportunity to go in there and be the starter and maybe revitalize his career in his old age.
Listen, you getting me to say anything positive about the Giants is a plus. So I don't even.
See, the most biased analyst when we talk about the NFC East. All right, fine. Well, then let's move on so we couldn't smile on that face of yours. And tell me about your Philadelphia Eagles, CJ.
Listen, it's not that much to be able to say. Look, we haven't been at this position for a very long time, or at all, by the way,
ever.
As far as drafting number 32. But look,
But then
how
you
he was
didn't.
when he. Yeah, but we didn't. But what we did is we required more picks so we can be able to focus on the future. Right now, you want to continue to protect your investment as Carson Wentz. So what you want to do, you want to make this offense even more stout and bring in a freaking best tight end in the draft, underrated out here, and bring him in the second round and be able to put him in a system that already has Alshon Jeffrey, that already has Nelson Aguilar, that already has Zach Ertz, and now you bring Dallas Goedert into the mix. The red zone is about to be money. I guess you can say loser could be the defensive line, just because now you just heard about damn it, what's my man's name? Timmy Jernigan went down with an injury for a herniated disc. So the depth there is going to be it's a little questionable, but the main guys are still there. Offense is still good. You're probably going to wonder to see how long Carson Wentz is going to be as far as him coming back and being healthy. But all reports are saying he's going to be good. So right now, I guess if you want to try to find a loser, I guess you can probably say the depth is defensive line. But outside of that, I think everything else is still winners for me.
Jason?
Carson Wentz, big winner, picked up arguably the best tight end in the draft, as CJ already alluded to, and they got some nice depth pieces for the O-line, wide receivers and running backs. Nobody drafted to worry about taking touches from. I actually do have a loser. I've got Zach Ertz as a loser, just because with Goddard there could be some production that heads over that direction. That's a little tenuous, though. I don't think he's going to challenge this year. Zach Ertz is the man there, and I think as long as he stays healthy, he'll continue to be the man.
Yeah, I honestly have no winners or losers on the Eagles because they basically they basically just drafted depth. No, I don't think anyone's going to be challenging for starting jobs.
That's a compliment.
Yeah,
that's a compliment.
That's what you draft when you're the champion.
It's a good problem to have. Like I said, I don't think anyone's challenging for starting jobs right off the bat. They added depth, because of that, it's maybe not a great spot for these guys. I don't think that Dallas Goedert is going to be a big problem because he's just stepping into the Trey Burton role. They already brought in Richard Rodgers, so you could say Zach Ertz maybe because they have a proven red zone threat there and a high prospect. But this is Zach Ertz's position. I mean, the offense, and through the tight end position goes through him, and the other guys are just kind of there as distractions, and sometimes they get a nod in the red zone. So I think Zach Ertz will be fine. He might not get as many targets, but I think the quality of targets will go up because they're going to have to cover all these other guys. So I think it is a wash at the end of the day. And the wide receiver offensive line help that was late round. I'm just impartial, not impartial. It was a wash. So I guess the best compliment I can say is that nobody was a loser. So yeah, let's move on. And we'll go to the Washington Redskins. I'm afraid to throw this one to CJ, so I'm going to throw this to Jason first. So, Jason, take it away.
This is a weird situation for me. I've got Alex Smith as both a winner and a loser. Okay, and let me explain why that is. First off, I have him as a winner because the Skins ended up taking one of the best running backs in the draft, and they got him for a steal at the bottom of the second round. If he stays out of trouble, this guy is going to be very, very good, and he'll help that offense move. All right, and they also got a pretty good tackle, and that'll help keep Smith upright. I've got him as a loser because he went to a much, much worse team than where he came from. He went from a very good Kansas City team to a not-so-great Washington Redskins team. So you have to take him kind of as an overall loser for the offseason. But after the draft, I'd say that he was a winner for that team. But that's pretty much all I've got for this team.
Yeah, CJ?
Well, I think this team is the loser you can be able to definitely see is cornerback depth, and on this team, man. Outside of Josh Norman, everything else is no names, jobbers, as I like to call them, and that's going to make this team get in a lot of trouble, especially with this offense just coming all together with Alex Smith and a bunch of guys that he has not played with. So, to me, that's my loser when I look at this team. Is the secondary.
Yeah, if I want to pick this apart a little bit, you could say that Josh Doxson, Jameson Crowder, Paul Richardson were all winners because they didn't draft wide receiver until the third round and beyond. Oh, no, actually, no, they didn't draft. That was a lineman. I was looking at the wrong name. Sorry. They didn't draft a wide receiver until the seventh round, so nobody's challenging them for starting positions. They did draft offensive line help. I would say that Alex Smith, of course, is a loser due to his new position and the quality of the weapons, but, I mean, he's got weapons. I don't think he's going to be terrible. We've talked about this pretty extensively to this point. But, I mean, it's obviously a downgrade going from the caliber of weapon he had in Kansas City to what he now is working with in Washington. Rob Kelly, Chris Thompson, Samaje Perine, they're all losers for me because, like Jason pointed out, Darius Geis was drafted there, a guy we all had as our number 2 running back prospect, somehow slipped all the way into the second round. It was taken with the 27th pick in the second. So a lot of this has come out as off-the-field issues. There's some stuff that kind of leaked right around the week leading up to the draft, and it was not necessarily from what I understand, because I haven't seen the stuff, and I kind of keep forgetting to look it up more. It was kind of stuff that was not poor character, but it was stuff that made you question where his head was at. So I don't know. But I think Darius Geis will be probably the starter when it's all said and done. So all those guys are probably losers for me. Chris Thompson, I think, will slide in as the change of pace third down back because he's very explosive. But Samaje Perine, Rob Kelly, big losers for me. Jordan Reed I have as a winner because Alex Smith loves to target his tight ends. I think that as long as Jordan Reed's healthy, he'll be very good. And if not, Vernon Davis. And they got a lot of defensive help. I mean, obviously, first-round pick and Daron Payne, a new nose tackle for them, and a lot of depth across the board as well. So, I mean, this team did a lot of things. I don't really have any winners or losers on the defensive side, but obviously on the offensive side, you can make a case in a number of situations. So, anything you guys want to add?
Nope.
All right, well, then let's move on. Let's go to the NFC South, and we will start off with the Atlanta Falcons. CJ, take it away.
Well, listen, man, Atlanta Falcons, it was kind of hard for me to pick a winner and loser right here. It's a big question mark with this team because, yes, you replaced Taylor Gabriel with the kid, the rookie wide receiver, Calvin Ridley. But it's outside of that, I would hope this offense wins. I mean, and now with Sarkisian, gets his act together, and they can probably start getting some motion and being more productive. Everything else right now is to be determined. I like the pick, but I want to see it actually come to manifestation. Like, come on, let's get something going.
Yeah, you have to say Matt Ryan's a big winner.
Overpaid.
Massive contract. They get him a first-round wide receiver to replace the departed Taylor Gabriel, which I think Calvin Ridley will be a nice upgrade over Taylor Gabriel. Currently in the slot, obviously they have Julio Jones there, Mohamed Sanu on the outside. This is going to be a very disgusting wide receiver core. Austin Hooper is a winner for me because he's been kind of hit or miss, but they didn't even draft a corner. A tight end. They got some as unsigned rookies. They got a lot of defensive line help, but nobody that I see being penciled in as a week 1 starter. So I would say pretty universally there's a couple winners here, and I don't think there's any real losers. Jason, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I agree. No losers. Matt Ryan, ridiculous contract. So, yeah, winner. He's also got Calvin Ridley as another nice piece to throw to. Devontae Freeman I have as a winner. They got Ito Smith as a nice complementary running back piece, but I don't think he's going to challenge this year. Plus, the defense got upgraded, and when they got Isaiah Oliver, they got a really nice corner. So that's going to help get them in better position for Devontae Freeman to maybe punch that ball into the end zone.
Yep. Anything you guys want to add?
Yeah, we're good.
All right.
I'll see him in the future.
With that, let's move on to the Carolina Panthers. Since we want to keep this positive, I'll start with CJ. CJ, tell me about the Panthers.
Panthers winners for me is this offense, man. Finally get a DJ Moore, that receiver. I definitely like him. Picking up CJ Anderson to be that bruising back that they missing with Jonathan Seward. He can replace them. The winner, again, is North Turner coming in there. Hopefully be able to get something out of McCaffrey. And hopefully Cam can be able to take a step forward in this game. So for me, the winners right now are their offense. Defense-wise, I have to say defensive line is the loser. I didn't really see them do anything on that front as far as to be able to get some pressure on the opposing team's offense. So I would say their defensive line is a loser.
Absolutely. I will say Christian McCaffrey, a huge loser for me. Obviously, C.J. Anderson, still pending, I believe. I don't think it's actually officially happened yet, but Oh, no, actually, yeah, it did. Never mind.
He's on the chart.
Yeah, he is on the chart. Never mind. That's right, yeah.
How dare you question me?
Well, no, I wasn't questioning. I was trying to remember if I actually saw the contract come through, but it did. I remember now.
I would definitely question him.
Yeah. Christian McCaffrey, he was penciled in as the starter with no competition. We all said that was not going to be the case come week 1. Here it is. C.J. Anderson comes in, who is a massive upgrade to me over Jonathan Stewart at this point in their careers for sure. C.J. Anderson, one of the most elusive backs actually last year, which is a surprising stat. And I think that he's going to very much gobble up the first and second down work. I think Chris McCaffrey is going to be really reduced to a change of pace and third down back, which is not what anyone wanted to see, and definitely not him. Cam Newton is a massive winner for me, though, because C.J. Anderson's a guy that they're going to have to respect. I mean, Chris McCaffrey obviously already there. Devin Funches and DJ Moore, I think DJ Moore is going to be a big difference maker for them right off the bat. Torrey Smith will distract the defense. That's about all he's good for. Greg Olsen comes back. And, go out there and run routes. Go deep. Just go deep.
Go out there and play with your son.
No. Don't look back. It's not coming to you. Just go deep. So Greg Olsen back and healthy. I think all these things help Cam Newton out, especially as they try to continue. I have to emphasize the word try to transition him more into a pocket passer. They're surrounding him with talent and doing it in ways that are surprisingly fitting under the cap. So I think those are my big winners and losers on the offensive side. On the defensive side, I don't really have any losers. They drafted a lot of guys who I think are going to be depth pieces for them. I don't necessarily see any of them starting week 1. None of them pencil in to be starters as of now. Jason, you have about 30 seconds. What are your thoughts?
Cam Newton, big winner. I agree with you. They got arguably the best receiver in the draft in DJ Moore. Christian McCaffrey, got to be a loser. Got C.J. Anderson coming in. He's going to gobble up a lot of that, as you already mentioned. Honestly, I think this is good in the long run for Christian McCaffrey because again, if he's the starter, if he's the 1-2 back, he's going to get killed. So good for him, but bad for his production this year.
I agree. All right. Let's move it on to the New Orleans Saints. And I guess I'll take it off for the Saints. For me, a big winner here for the Saints has to be Drew Brees. They brought in a third-round wide receiver in Traquan Smith, a guy that we liked and think has some serious untapped potential. They also grabbed another undrafted rookie wide receiver. They upgraded the offensive line. They actually they drafted a 4th-round right tackle, a 7th-round center, so obviously that's not great. I think that's more of a depth move. And then they signed about 5 other offensive linemen that were undrafted. So they've got a lot of pieces to try out and work with. Obviously, they invested draft capital on the defensive side, drafting Marcus Davenport in the 1st round. Massive addition to that defensive line. And then they signed a bunch of defensive guys that were free agents. None of them will... I don't think a lot of them are going to make the team, but we'll see how it all plays out. But yeah, that's the biggest winner for me. Alvin Kamara, of course, is currently a big winner because I don't think that, as we talked about earlier on, I don't think anyone's going to be gobbling up the same volume Mark Ingram was, so I think he's going to see a larger workload, which is good for fantasy as long as they keep him healthy. And for me, a massive winner, Benjamin Watson, returning to New Orleans, a place where he was very good, and he's back with Drew Brees, who loves to use his tight end, is very useful in the system when they can actually catch the ball, a la Kobe Fleener, was not very good at that, and they didn't draft any depth behind him, so Benjamin Watson, who is an ancient tight end, is out there basically uncontested. They picked up 2 tight ends that were unsigned, so that's his competition right now. Jason, what are your thoughts?
Right. You mentioned Traquan Smith. They also got Cameron Meredith in the offseason. That's nice. So Drew Brees, big winner for me. Plus, they got a tackle, so that's always good. Alvin Kamara, you mentioned, without Ingram around, he's probably going to get a much larger workload, at least for 4 games, which for me means that a loser would be Mark Ingram because Alvin Kamara being uncontested for 4 games is not good for Ingram because if he can do it all by himself, they might just stay with a hot hand, and Ingram might pay for that with lower production.
I kind of want to pause the show here because I meant to talk about this earlier on. You guys hear any of the stuff about how Alvin Kamara or not Mark Ingram was getting all this off the field pre the training camp, all the optional stuff going on? He's getting all this negative feedback from camp and his bad attitude and all that other stuff. It seems like he's back to being in the doghouse with Sean Payton. He kind of got out of it last year. Now he's right back into it. So I heard a report saying that he was basically told that he was going to be essentially in the depth chart, the number 2 running back, and he was not a fan. So this is a contract year for him, and it's not starting too well there. CJ, I'm going to give you back to where it was, about 45 seconds on the board. So what are your thoughts?
45 seconds. All right. Well, my big thing is winner is this defense. I mean that's what basically cost them the game in that playoff game before they could be able to go into the next round. So
that divisional round game.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? So that be able to do that, getting some cornerback, getting some corners with experience. Then he'd be able to get Marcus Davenport. Definitely like that. I think the big winner here is Kobe Fleener being gone. I mean, come on. We all knew he sucked, right? So that's a winner. He's out of there.
I like that a winner?
It is, because we don't have to look at his face anymore in that jersey.
No,
so
that makes him a loser because now he's jobless.
No, because he's a winner, because he's gone.
Nope, end time. All right, moving on. Last team in the South, we have the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. CJ, why don't you start us off?
Tampa Bay Buccaneers, man, winners across the board, man. They needed help drastically on defense. So what do? They go out and get Jason Pierre-Paul. They go out there and get Vinny Curry from the Philadelphia Eagles. They go get Benny Logan from the Philadelphia Eagles. Get some other depth right there to help with Gerald McCoy. They go draft a linebacker, corners. They got drafted safety. They improved this defense. And on the other side of the ball, they replaced Doug Martin with that kid out of Jason. What's that kid's name out of Georgia?
Ronald Jones.
They go kick him up, and he's a good back. He reminds me, looking at his tape, and I know they do this every year when it comes to the last running back was really great. He reminds me a lot of Alvin Kamara. He has his tape is ridiculous, man, and I think he's going to be able to fit well in this offense. And they went out there and drafted some O-line help too. So this offense, I think this is the year we're probably going to see Tampa Bay take off. I'm hoping it. But everything winners across the board to me on offense and defense for this team.
Yeah, I have to agree, and Jacquizz Rodgers just a big loser here because he was slated to be the starter, but I don't think any of us thought that he was going to be uncontested in that position when the season started, so not surprised. Charles Sims, I thought was not... I like Charles Sims. I didn't think he was going to be the answer either. And they go and they get Ronald Jones, like we just second. Ronald Jones the second, if we want to be technical. He will most likely be the starter week 1, I would expect. If not, he's going to be a big piece of that running game. They got themselves a 5th round wide receiver in Justin Watson. He could be a nice addition, but I think that Mike Evans, Deshaun Jackson, and Adam Humphries, who you guys both know I'm a big fan of, I think this could be a big year for him. They're, to me, Chris Godwin, who I'm a big fan of. That's who I also meant, of course. These guys, I think, are all slotted in ahead of him. I don't think he's going to see much production. As a whole, they drafted a lot of depth. So for me, it's not a lot of winners or losers here. I just really kind of like this team, maybe more so than I did last year, and we were all high on them last year. So hopefully they put it all together, kind of like CJ was saying. Jason, what are your thoughts?
The defense. They got 2 of the best defensive players in this draft, in my opinion, with Vita Vea at tackle. And then they went out and they got themselves MJ Stewart at corner. He's somebody that was mocked every now and then to go in the first round. I saw him go in the first round a couple times. So that was really nice to see. Another winner for me is Jameis Winston. And because of that defense, it's going to give him an opportunity. They also went out and got themselves a guard. And now Kappa, who I thought went way later than I thought he should have. So he's getting his opportunity to prove himself this year. And then, as you already mentioned, big loser for me, Jacquizz Rodgers. He was uncontested until Ronald Jones came along. So now it's a muddled backfield, and we got to see who's going to be the man. That's
true. I could really say that Jameis Winston is a winner here because of the offensive line help. Obviously, like you said, they drafted Alex Kappa. I also kind of thought he went late. Let's not also forget that they brought in Ryan Jensen from the Ravens. He is going to be the new center. This offensive line is upgraded. So Jameis Winston, he's running out of excuses. He's got to make it happen. He's been good, but we're waiting for him to be consistently great. All right, so we're 3/4 of the way there, guys. How you feeling?
Doing good.
Feeling good? All right, well, let's go to the West, and we'll start with Jason's team, the Arizona Cardinals. I almost feel like I shouldn't give it to him to start with because he's going to be long-winded. But, Jason, take it away.
Yeah, you might as well just take the whole 3 minutes.
I know. Jason, take the whole 3 minutes. Go take it.
Just take the whole 3 minutes.
Shut your hole. All right, so big winner in this draft, in this offseason, really, Steve Keim. This was his best draft I've seen in about 4 years. So, really good job. He did everything he was supposed to do. Another big winner, Sam Bradford. They got Mason Cole as a nice depth piece. They also brought in Justin Pugh to kind of upgrade that offensive line. They also got a couple really late for some more depth. They also got a really, really nice weapon in Christian Kirk, one of my favorite players in the draft. And they went out and got Chase Edmonds, who is going to be a really nice weapon that they're going to figure out how to use. Another winner is David Johnson. The O-line depth and upgrades are going to help him open up his lanes. The additional wide receiver talent is going to give him opportunities to not be the only guy that they give the ball to. Another winner, Jermaine Gresham or Ricky Seals-Jones, whoever ends up winning that spot, because Sam Bradford loves to throw to the tight end, and that's something we haven't had much in Arizona. And then losers, I've got J.J. Williams with Christian Kirk coming in. He's going to jump them on the depth chart more than likely. He is more talented, in my opinion, than both of those two guys. They're still going to get the opportunities, but there's more mouth to feed now, so they're going to kind of go down the depth chart just a bit.
Yeah. Mike Glennon, to me, is just a massive loser. he signs a contract for the second year in a row, and then they go and sign a first-round rookie, and he's he's stuck behind them again. So
I think he was actually
he's break glass in case of emergency. That's all he is.
He was like that SpongeBob meme with his no pants on. He was just like, woof. Good thing I don't have to play again.
Yeah, well, yeah. So of course they get Josh Rosen in the first, so that's potentially what should be their quarterback of the future. Sam Bradford, I don't think is a loser because of this, because I don't think there's any contention for him being the starter unless he gets hurt, which most predict will be inevitable. Yeah. Christian Kirk, I think, lands in a great spot. He's got very good quarterback in Sam Bradford. If he can stay healthy, Josh Rosen is NFL ready, probably the most NFL ready out of the big five that were drafted. So I think that Christian Kirk is going to probably start in the slot, and I think he gets a decent amount of production because, I mean, he's got that elite kind of prototypical slot build, size, speed combination, good in open space. I like him a lot. I think he will do well here. He could be a nice PPR option. Got a lot of undrafted rookies on the defensive side. I'm hard pressed to say that there's very many losers here. I kind of like what happened here across the board. Mostly depth, like I said. CJ, your thought? About 30 seconds.
Cardinals did a great job. I like the youth they brought in there, wide receiver. Definitely like the quarterback. Hopefully we'll be able to see this kid a lot more sooner than later. And they're on the right direction of rebuilding this team. This
kid being Josh Rosen?
Yeah.
Not a fan of Sam Bradford?
I just don't think he's going to stay healthy the whole season.
No. Would you say Chase Edmonds is a loser for going to the backup David Johnson? He's probably not going to see the field very much.
Preseason.
Yeah, we'll see him. He might be the backup. I don't think Elijah Penny holds that job down, so he could be a pretty heavily involved backup.
Either him or TJ Logan, one of those two guys.
Time. All right, we're moving on. The Los Angeles Rams. CJ, tell me about the Rams.
Rams, listen, man, they draft-wise, look, they traded a lot of their draft picks, but I like what they did as far as bringing veteran talent in there, as far as bringing in Team Khalid on the defense, bringing in Marcus Peters, bringing in Brandon Cooks. These are already established veterans. They're bringing on an already team right now, and their general manager and this organization are in a win-now mindset. So they're bringing all these talent in here right now, and they think with this talent and the coaching staff that they got that they can be able to do it. So, listen, you got Ndamukong Suh in there to be able to pair up with Aaron Donald, one of the nastiest D tackles in the league. That's a damaging duo. You got one of the best 1-2 corners in the game right now, playing on the same team. And now you're bringing in you're helping Jared Goff. We're bringing him some more wide receiver talent, solid offensive line. You got one of the best running backs in the game. Right now, both of these, the team looks scary. It looks very scary. And to be honest, you got to say both sides of the ball are winners. They didn't do a lot of stuff in the draft, but for what the pieces they used to bring this talent in, right now, I see nothing but A+ on both sides of the ball.
There are so many winners here. I mean, this team is. I mean, they were good last year. A lot of people could argue and say that a lot of it was kind of dumb luck and the strength of schedule and this, that, the other. Bottom line, they got it done. They were very good. They were a favorite, an underdog favorite of basically anyone who watched football, and they have massively improved this offseason. Like we said, the only loss was trading away. Oh my God, what's his name?
Ogletree.
Thank you, Ogletree. But the linebackers aren't the big focus in a Wade Phillips defense, and they were able to purge cap space, which allowed them to go get guys like a Brandon Cooks, who is obviously going to be, I think, a big addition there, filling the Sammy Watkins role. Cooper Kupp, a guy we like. Robert Woods was very, very good last year. None of them are losers here because they're going to go 3 wide a lot, I think. You have to say Jared Goff was a big winner. They upgraded the offensive line. The defense is even more improved than it was, bringing in Aqib Talib, obviously, which is a huge addition to the defensive side. I just really think that this is going to be a scary team to play against, and of course Marcus Peters as well. I think teams are going to have trouble moving the ball. They're going to be in great scoring position all the time, and I think then they're going to score. Of course, they got a 4th-round center, which will help Jared Goff as well. That'll only help Todd Gurley. There's a lot of winners here for me. Jason, your thoughts? About 30 seconds.
No, I pretty much agree with everything you guys have said. I mean, this is anyone who watches this team consistently understands. It doesn't matter how bad you think them in a game; they are dangerous in every single. Jared Goff is my big winner here. Offensive line was upgraded. He got more wide receiver help. That defense became even more dangerous than it already was, which was already pretty darn dangerous. And they got probably the best defensive mind in the NFL running that defense. So overall, yeah, you're absolutely right. This team is going to be nasty. They're going to definitely be contenders for the Super Bowl this year.
Time. Yeah. I mean, they're definitely in win now. The Jared Goff doesn't have a big contract. They're trying to capitalize on it. All right, next team, the San Francisco 49ers.
This is you. Don't be trying to scapegoat it. Piece of crap.
Scapegoat it? You think this one's me? You think
It is you.
Why am I the 49ers representative of the group here?
Because it's your turn to start. It's you.
I mean, that's fine. I'll take it away. Fine. Let me reset the timer. All right, let me go and go. So the 49ers, I have to say that a big winner here is Jimmy Garoppolo. I mean, holy crap.
Oh, yeah.
They get themselves a 2nd-round wide receiver in Dante Pettis, who I thought was a guy who, you saw arguments saying he could have been a 1st-rounder. They also got Richie James in the 7th, which will be a depth piece. I don't think that's a big thing. But they get a 1st-round right tackle and Mike McGlinchey. I can't ever say his name. McGlinchey, thank you. They got also, if you look at what they actually signed, they signed 4 more offensive linemen that were undrafted, so hopefully some of those guys really shake out. Jerick McKinnon comes in, which will be a 3-down back for them, and we expect to be definitely the starter. So a guy that a show darling of ours, Joe Williams, you have to say that he's probably a loser here because Jerick McKinnon he's going to be the starter. He's going to get every opportunity to start. Defensive side, I don't think there's any real winners or losers. I think most of what they drafted were depth pieces. As a whole, I like what they did here. It's a lot of depth and upgrades on the offensive line. So I don't know. Jason, what are your thoughts?
I pretty much agree with you. Jimmy Garoppolo as the big winner, as you mentioned. Dante Pettis is a really good receiver. They got McGlinchey, who was the best tackle in the draft. So pretty good. I've actually got Williams as a winner. I think he's going to get his opportunity. I think he's out and be the starter for this team.
All right, CJ, your thoughts?
My thoughts are, I think winning on defense. I mean, bringing in Richard Sherman, that's a plus. Maybe bring that veteran mindset on those corners and that secondary, so that's one. I definitely think this offense in total is a winner because you're bringing in, you got Shanahan there, of course, another year, and you're bringing in, you got Jimmy Garoppolo there for another year, and now for the full year. So you really get to be able to get a full year of this, the coach and quarterback, be able to go out there and be able to work with these wide receivers and running backs, man. I think those are pluses. I guess you can say you don't really know about what the wide receivers are going to be throughout the year, but I mean, when Jimmy G was out there last year in those games he had, he was making everything flow. Godwin was rolling. Pierre Garçon was, I think he was hurt by that time, but he was flowing with his offense with the talent that he didn't have there. So now bringing it back and they're healthy, I think those are pluses, and I like it.
Yep, I agree. They definitely got the best tackle in the draft. I think they reached for him a little bit. I think they could have traded back a couple spots and still gotten him. But, yeah, massive addition to that offensive line. I really like the addition there. It'll help every aspect of the offense. So, all right, let's take it home. The Seattle Seahawks. I'm throwing this one to Jason. Jason, tell me about the Seahawks.
I think the Seahawks probably had my least favorite draft. Rashad Penny in the first round was just not a really good idea. But they did what they did. So I guess that makes the running backs room that was already the losers because they drafted a first-round running back. So you got to worry about that. Another big loser for me, Russell Wilson. They did not draft a lineman high. They should have drafted a lineman high. They need to upgrade their offensive line for the love of Pete. They also didn't take any wide receivers, tight ends early in the draft to give him a little more talented help. So, yeah, overall, like I said, I'm not a big fan of what they did. They did get Rasheem Green, who's a good defensive end. He's going to help out a little bit. And they got Shaquem Griffin, who is going to be a fire plug, a spark plug, not a fire plug. Don't be a fire plug. He's going to be a spark for this defense. He's going to be the heart and soul of this defense, in my opinion. I think he's going to definitely bring them something that they've kind of been lacking for a couple of years. So I do like that move. So the defense are winners in my mind.
A lot of pressure on the 5th-round pick. CJ, your thoughts?
In my mind, to be honest, I got to counter Jason, man. I think this defense is a loser to me. I mean, right now, I see a lot of changing in the guard as far as the Legion of Boom, Richard Sherman getting out there, hearing these reports about most likely Earl Thomas being traded. So there's a lot of changes in the guards on there. So, I mean, now they're kind of probably going to try to make this team centered around Bobby Wagner, which is not a bad thing. But, I mean, it's not going to happen in one season. So, it's to me, I think that's the loser to me. It's this defense.
Yeah, I mean, obviously Richard Sherman gone, Sheldon Richardson gone. Those are just big names to try and replace. Plenty of other guys that are depth pieces on the defensive side as well that they didn't really replace. When they drafted Rashad Penny in the first, and we've talked about this at length, so we won't dwell on it, I was shocked. Like, I in no way, shape, or form thought that was going to be the pick. And I still, to this day, along with many other analysts out there, think that this is a guy that they really reached on. I don't believe for a second that they were getting a lot of calls asking if they could trade for him once they drafted him. This was a guy that everyone that I've talked to, everyone around the league, all of us, we all had as a 2nd-round pick. And here they took him in the late first. So I just, as the 2nd running back off the board, wasn't he? Was he the 2nd or the 3rd running back?
No. Yeah, he was.
Man, it's so early. So, yeah, I don't think that he's the answer. They needed, like Jason was saying, they needed offensive line help. They needed to buy time for their questionable wide receiver core to get out there and get going. Behind Doug Baldwin, they have a lot of question marks. Tyler Lockett, we all like, but, I mean, he's got to put it all together. Behind him, there's really nothing. And, of course, therefore, help the running game, help Russell Wilson stay upright. I would say Russell Wilson's a big loser here because, I mean, adding Rashad Penny, that's a running back who I don't think that there's enough going on with the offense here that it's going to be a big enough distraction to keep him upright. Defensively, yeah, they got some pieces, a lot of depth pieces. I don't think they got too many big, they're not going to have the next stellar defense in this league with the pieces they got right now. Some of them might develop to be those guys, but as a whole, this team has a lot of losers for me, and I struggle to find a winner really anywhere on it. I guess maybe you could say Rashad Penny because he's going to uncontestedly be the starter there, but beyond that, I don't really see much. Maybe this is us being negative, but it's just, it's from the outside looking in. That's what it looks like based on free agency, based on the draft. So that's
it. One of the reasons I mentioned the defense as possible winners, partly because I didn't want to sound like I was crapping on Seattle, because I usually do, because, they're my rivals. I completely agree with you guys. I mean, this defense, nowhere near where it used to be. And I think the main problem, I mentioned this a couple shows ago, I think the main problem is that they are in denial about that. I don't think they realize how bad this defense has gotten, what they've lost. I think they thought they were so good that it really didn't matter, because they need off season. They've done nothing to address these problems.
Yeah, I mean, I can't disagree. I mean, they purged. I think they're in denial that they're in a rebuild. I think they think they're retooling, but everyone from the outside looking in is looking at this team and saying they're basically in a full-on rebuild. They need a lot of pieces across the board to make this thing run consistently. They lost their big red zone weapon. They have no offensive line. They lost a lot of their defensive talent, aging defensive talent, granted, but their defensive superstars. This team just has a lot of holes in it, and I don't think they've done a very good job of plugging those holes to this point. So we'll see.
And they haven't been drafting well for the last couple years now.
That's true.
And that's affecting this team. You gotta bring in youth talent to be able to learn under these this Legion of Boom that you have there. So when the time comes when you trade a Richard Sherman, you don't have to question or worry about it that you got freaking Brandon Maxwell on your team now, and he's the depth cornerback there. The guy was awful. The guy was a laughingstock a couple years ago. So and now he's supposed to be a legit corner on your team that now that you're looking at it and going like, okay, yeah, we're cool now. We got that down. No, you should be concerned if you're Seattle. I'm not personally trying to crap on Seattle just because of that. I think right now in their mind they think they got Russell Wilson and that's basically their team, which on paper it is because we've seen what's been going on, but that is not going to get them anywhere further than the first round of a wild card game.
Well, now that we've gone over with the Seahawks, giving them almost double the amount of time, we've now pushed the show over an hour. Dang it, we were so close. All right, so with that, let's get out of here. So, yeah, that's going to do it for us today. There's our NFC recap. Again, we know we didn't talk about everything. This wasn't supposed to be an in-depth breakdown. We were giving you a nice overview, winners and losers, narratives to follow, so you're kind of up to date with what's going on with each one of these teams. Anything you think we missed, if you're on YouTube, comment down below. Send a submission, thought, question, whatever it may be, to us on Twitter at the FFNX. Get the conversation going. We'll happily respond to you guys and talk to you and interact with you, and we have a good time with it. So again, that's at the FFNX, and make sure you guys come back on Tuesday when we'll be doing our first mock draft of the regular season here on the main show. Post the draft, post the free agency. We finally know what these teams are going to look like going into the year, so we're going to do a mock draft. Should be a lot of fun. Yeah, if you guys want to follow us individually, we're also on Twitter. You can follow me at GPalmerFFF. CJ's at CJHickman89. Jason is at JasonCabrera13. Do you guys have any parting thoughts before we get out of here?
Hey, man, you guys have a good weekend, and thanks for having me. I haven't been here in a couple weeks. Got some other stuff going on, but it was good to have you.
Not consistently, yeah. All right, yeah. Maybe a sign of things to come, we hope. So, all right, we are out of here. Everyone take care. Have a great weekend. We will see you on Tuesday. Bye.